What's up, guys? It's Bacon Drips here again after a long holiday season and a long hiatus for work and all that bullshit. I think I am finally back and I'm going to be making some more videos, which is exciting for me because I got a lot of things to tell, a lot of things to show off, and a lot of shit on my mind. So, with that being said, y'all have watched a few reaction videos from me before and a few videos that were just going, hey, look what I was lucky enough to get at blah blah blah. Well, today I want to actually tell you a little bit something about myself. I've alluded to the other videos where I was essentially saying that, yeah, I'm an idiot. And I want to tell you that story, and I want to tell you why. I'm many things, but I'm not an idiot anymore. You see, way back in the day when little Bacon was 3 years old, he got his first video game system, a Vectrex. And it was a beautiful thing. Playing Spike the Cat and its version of, well, I can't think of the name of the game right now because it's 2 a.m. and I'm on Ambien. So I will just, Berserk. There we go, Berserk. Playing its version of Berserk, which is actually my favorite version. But yeah, just those are my first memories of playing video games. And actually, to this day, I have that system. It's in a storage unit right now because if you look around, it's not like I have a whole lot of room in my little townhouse to put all that stuff. So it's safe in a climate-controlled storage unit. Still have all the games with it. What I am missing, though, is some of the screens. And I used to have them, and over the 30 years that I've had it, I couldn't begin to tell you where those may have gone. But anyway, that's probably the king of my collection, and that was my first intro to video games. And it's something I will never forget, and it's also something that I'm never going to sell. I plan on giving it off to little Bacon whenever he gets older, and hopefully he will give it to his son, and his son will, and so on and so forth until the world explodes. Or we kill ourselves, but that's another story. Anyway, after that, a few years later, I think I was 4. Yeah, I had to have been 4. I got the Nintendo Entertainment System with the light gun and Rob the Robot for Christmas. And I couldn't tell you what games I had for it besides, Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Gyromite, and a couple of others that are, I guess, forgettable because I can't really remember them. And I remember the first time I fired up Mario Brothers, I was so happy. The graphics were incredible. And then I walked up to that first Goomba and I said, I think he wants to be my friend. And walked right fucking into him and died. And that's when I realized to never trust anything in a video game. I remember the first time I found the warp pipe. I was once again 4. I jumped on the 3rd pipe in the level. And I go, and I say, look, Mom, I'm making Mario poop. And I pressed down on the controller, and he went down, and I had a holy fuck moment. Collected all the coins, got out of there, and just proceeded to probably die on the next, pitfall. But regardless, that was one of those gaming memories that I will never forget. Now, moving on, a few years later, had some friends in school. I was maybe 6 or 7. It was still the late 90s, so 89 or so. I got a chance to play on their Sega Genesis. And I was blown the fuck away. It was big sprites, it was better graphics, it was super cool, awesome, happy time. And I never did get an older Genesis at that point. Because a couple of years later, we all know, 1991, the Super Nintendo released, and I got it. I can't remember. I don't think I got it for my birthday either. This was more along the lines of, please, 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 Mama, gimme, gimme, gimme. I'll do anything. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And my parents broke down and said, fine, here you go. I remember getting with it. I had Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, and ActRaiser, and played the shit out of all three of those. So at this point, I need to get a little bit more in depth into the story. My parents were straight up from the country. There's no other way to explain that. My dad's job in life was to work at his business, get home at 3:30 during the fall, and then go sit on a deer stand until it was dark every fucking day. On the weekends, during the fall, 2 o'clock came around. I'm sorry, 5 o'clock in the morning came around. He got up, went and got on a deer stand, got off around 10, came home, ate, took a nap. About 3 o'clock, he was back on a deer stand and would come back at night. My mom, too. That's just what they did. And I was straight up told as a kid, you can forget about ever going to Disney World. You can forget about ever going to any of those grand theme parks because we don't travel and that shit ain't gonna happen. So, to make up for it, what we will do, we will, whatever you do to have fun, we'll put an equivalent amount of money toward that as you would to go to a theme park, or we go on a vacation or something like that. This is where I became a spoiled little shit when it comes to video games. By the time the NES and the SNES, came out, had their days, I did have a Genesis. I had the Sega CD. They bought me a fucking Jaguar when it came out. I had a 3DO. The Genesis. I also had the Mega, the device where you could play the Mega Drive games. Well, not Mega Drive, the Master System games. I had all that shit. I think at my last count, it was somewhere around 250 to 300 games in total, all complete in box. That being said, this is where I'm a fucking idiot. PlayStation comes out. I want me a PlayStation. So what do? I take all those Nintendo games that were complete in box, all of my Nintendo peripherals, and I put them all in a big box, or a few big boxes, and put an ad in our local sales paper, because Craigslist wasn't a thing at that time. This was, 95, I think, when the PlayStation dropped, give or take, something like that. My thought process was, I'm never going to play those games again. With the Nintendo, with the SNES, and with the PlayStation coming out, I'll never play those. Those games are going to be boring. Yeah, I loved some of the games, Super Mario Bros. 3, Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, the Mega Man series, all that shit. I really did love those games, but my thought process being, this newer stuff is coming out and it'll make me never want to play that again, so let me sell all these things. That way I can keep on top and get the new stuff. So I sold roughly 150 Nintendo games full in box with, the system, the controllers, the NES. I had the NES Advantage and NES Max, and sold it all for about 150, 200 bucks, give or take. Yay, I can get a PlayStation now. Got the PlayStation, and things started to go bad. We got some really horrible news in 95, I'm wanting to say. My dad had liver cancer. So obviously there was no more money, which was fine. I mean, I wasn't that much of a little shit that I got pissed off because my dad got cancer and I couldn't get video games. No, it was my mom and I, we focused all of our efforts into doing everything that we could to keep him comfortable. And it was a very miserable year. I was 13 when my dad finally passed. And it was a really rough time for us. But, you know, shit happens. We've got to move on with our life. So, needless to say, my game consumption drastically dropped off at that point. But, you know, I went on and I sold all my Super Nintendo stuff. Sold off the Jaguar and all that to get the newer, latest and greatest, whatever the fuck it was, the Saturn or the fuck up that was the 3DO. But either way, when it was all said and done, by the year 2000, I was just turned 18. I was living at home by myself. My mom and stepdad at that time had moved off to go live with my grandmother to try to help them out. So, yeah, they put a 17, 18-year-old kid in a home by themselves and basically said, all right, go fend for yourself. And I did. There were weekly parties. It was just a clusterfuck, to be perfectly honest. But by that time, the only system I had left laying around was a Dreamcast. And I honestly can't even tell you what the fuck happened to it. So I went to Lafayette to go to school for a little bit. And that really just turned out as an exercise to see how much booze I could consume and how much pot I could smoke. Class be damned. And yeah, I did have my PC. It wasn't great, but that's what I kept up with my PC games on. But all of my money went toward other stuff. I mean, hell, at the time I got a job at McDonald's just so I could fucking eat. It was rough. It was really rough for quite a few years. And so I got some money saved up. Shit blew up with my grandmother, my step-parents, so they moved back into the house, and I actually moved back from Lafayette because I had to get my shit together. I was essentially getting drunk every night, squandering all of my money. It just wasn't pretty. So I moved back in with them, like, alright, well, fuck, I'm gonna do something with myself. I enroll at a little, 2-year college, get my degree. Somewhere in that time, I'd managed to get a hold of a GameCube. And I had a PS2 that came back with me from Lafayette, which a dog broke. I was playing, the dog decided to go apeshit for whatever reason, slammed right into the controller card, pulled it down, it hit the floor, it cracked, and never worked after that. So, that's where that went. I know I ended up selling the GameCube because I needed money. I was dirt broke again in school and needed the money for something else. I couldn't tell you what. So finally, I finish up school. I get a job at a little computer chop shop. And I actually have a decent income now. Well, at that point. Was able to afford my own little shithole 2-room apartment. And that's when I kind of started getting back into gaming. I got an Xbox and just started screwing around on that, getting what I could when I can. When I could. Never had a huge library or anything. But that's where the trigger for getting back into gaming started. I built myself a better computer so I could get back into the PC games a whole lot. And it just kind of evolved from there. So after the stint at the computer chop shop finished, I actually found myself a legit IT job. And I've actually been working there ever since. It's been about 10 years. I love the place, but it can be a lot of work, and which is good. You know, it keeps me fed. It keeps my hobbies fed. So that's great. So recently, these last couple years, I've been kind of down a little bit, and I've been wanting to do something artistic, even though my fucking stickmen have polio. Yeah, I can actually show you. Da 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 da, drawing me a stick man, drawing me a stick man. There you go. There's a stick man. I can't draw for shit. And I tried. But I wanted to do something artistic. Just something. So, around the same time, I started really watching, stuff off of YouTube. And I'd come across some guys that did videos in different fashions, but I could relate to each of them in one way or another. And it got me thinking, holy shit, I think I could do this. I really do. I need something to fill my time at home when I'm, after my son goes to bed and when my wife's not doing much but reading a book. Just something to fill my time. And that's why I started doing this. And at the same time, while watching these guys on YouTube, it sparked my interest to go and dig and shop and go find all those games that I got rid of as a kid. And I really play them again, and I have been. I don't have a huge collection, not like some of the guys out there. And I don't want that. I don't want a collection of every, 800 some odd NES games. I have no reason for that. That's about 700 that I would never play and would just sit on a shelf. I would much rather have a collection of 100 that's awesome games that I'm actually going to play. But I do want to get back every system that I ever had. And I'm doing a pretty good job with that. I'm wanting to get back a lot of the games that I loved. And I'm doing a decent job at that. And I want to pick up the games that I missed, that I didn't have a chance to play back then. And really dig into them now and find out what's going on. And on top of all that, I want to start keeping up with the current gen of stuff too. And that's pretty much where I'm at. In my collection, I've got the Vectrex, I've got an NES, an SNES, a Genesis, which is being an asshole to our TV, Genesis Model 2, a PS2, a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, which I've given to Little Bacon, and my wife recently got me an Xbox One for an early Valentine's Day present, which is fucking incredible. So there's a few more systems that I need to get. Oh, and an N64. There's a few more systems I need to get, but that's not really too big on my to-do list. I'd rather start getting games that I can actually play. But that's kind of my story. That's where I'm at. I'm over here doing these things to hopefully entertain somebody out there and give myself something else to do besides, well, not that it's bad, but sit on my ass and just play video games. Hopefully I can get some of my knowledge and actually teach somebody a thing or two. Point them in a direction that, that they should go to find something new and interesting and awesome in this great little hobby that we have. On top of the video game stuff, I also collect vinyl. I'm a huge music fan, and I've been a fucking metalhead since I was 12. So, going around to thrift stores and things and finding old records is another little hobby of mine, and it fits in with everything else. So, that's kind of it. That's what I do. That's why I want to make these videos, is, let me entertain somebody, teach them something, every once in a while show off what I got at a flea market or a garage sale or whatever. And other than that, maybe do some goofy shit from time to time. Maybe even do a couple of streams of me playing Castlevania and breaking all of my NES controllers. I don't know. We'll have to see where that goes. But that's about it as far as this video. Next time, maybe tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about my favorite game ever. And that's going to be Final Fantasy 2/4. We knew it as 2 in the US, and it was 4 in Japan, but everybody knows that. So, watch out for that one. We're going to chat about it, and it's going to be fan-fucking-tastic. Anyway, guys, that's about it. This is Bacon Drips. So, damn, all the good lines are taken. So just fuck off and go play some video games. Later, guys.